Hey everybody, this is Joel. I'm down at Boom Comics in Topeka, Kansas, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about Creative Commons and when and why we should be working under Creative Commons. There's a problem, and it's a problem that's existed for a long time in the world of the creative folks, the artists and the authors and the game designers, and it has to do with access to the markets. And I'm going to ask you the question this way, okay? I want to ask, whatever your field is, whether you're a computer designer, you're a 3D CAD designer, if you're a storyteller, artist, whatever it is that you are, how much worse than your very favorite, most successful version of whatever you are you? So if you're a director, how much worse are you than your very favorite director? If you're an author, how much worse are you than your very favorite author? And, you know, be honest, I'm primarily an author, and I like to think I'm pretty good, but man, I've read some great stories out there written by some really great folks, and I just want to be, you know, real about it. There are folks out there that are better at what I do than I do. Here's the problem that I have, is that the very best authors out there, in terms of the most successful authors, are making millions and millions of dollars. Harry Potter has its own amusement park, right? And folks out there in the successful authors are just making huge amounts of money. Suzanne Collins is just making insane money off of the Hunger Games movies and books. And I've got to be honest, if I look at how much I make as an author and how much those folks make as authors, I make less than 1%. Right? I make a few fractions of a percent of what those folks make. Now, in terms of the quality of my writing, do I think that my writing is a few fractions of a percent of the quality of their writings? No. I mean, even if I'm 50% the author that they are, if the money scale was even, I'd be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it doesn't work that way. It's the same for movie directors. There's a few movie directors out there who are just making ass tons of money, and the rest of us, we do it because we love it, right? Game designers, same problem. Video designers, everybody's got the same problem. There's a few people out there that are making tons and tons of money, and the rest of us are just kind of, well, we do it because we love it. Okay, well, I do love it, and I do it because I love it. But it seems a little wrong to me that a few people should make so much money, and the rest of us should just kind of be out in the cold, right? So the reason why the system works that way actually has to do with rights. There is a disconnect between the people who are in the business of making money off of artists and authors and authors and artists. And that disconnect came to be because historically it's been very hard to get sort of access to markets, right? I mean, if we want to go all the way back and we want to talk about the first printing presses, you know, when Gutenberg started building the movable type printing press, in order to get something onto that printing press, it had to be pretty damned important. You know, it needed to be very, very focused because it took days to put a page together in movable type and press it on the press, and there wasn't a lot of access. And the same story could be told for access to radio. When radio first came around, access to stages in vaudeville. It was very, very hard for somebody who had created something to get it into the media, right? And this set up a situation where the folks that had the access to the media and or had money could buy things that you and I created and put them into the market, right? If we look at sort of the classic story, which is the massive publishing houses in New York City in the 20th century, these guys had absolute control of who could get to market, who could get into print, who could get their book out there, and so they bought rights outright. They bought your book, they owned it, you didn't own it. There's a wonderful short story collection called The Infinity Box. The author's name is escaped me. She's one of my very favorite Golden Age authors. If you look in, or I think it's called The Anything Box, if you look in the copyright page of The Anything Box, all of the copyrights listed are publishing houses and or magazines. She is not listed anywhere because those folks bought her stories outright. She doesn't own them anymore, right? And so when somebody wanted to publish a greatest hits album of her, greatest short stories collection of her short stories, they didn't have to ask her. They owned it. It was theirs. They did it. She did not have to be paid for it at all. It's a complete travesty. The absolute worst situation of this is Sir Paul McCartney cannot play the songs that he recorded as a Beatle because the Beatles were selling rights to their stories or to their songs and all sorts of Passions, they were absolutely huge and had their own publishing studio. But when they broke up, the rights to those songs ended up for sale, and Michael Jackson bought them. And he never let Paul McCartney have rights to his own songs back. It's absolutely insane. How is it that you could create it and then not own it to sing it, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. But the environment grew that way because it was hard to get things into print. It was hard to get things onto an album. It was hard to get your game formatted correctly, etc., etc., etc. Well, that has created the situation where we have a few absolutely massive companies out there that are just worldwide multi-billion-dollar companies who are controlling access to creative materials. You know, there's been some very famous incidents. There are an entire series of children's movies that you can't play in daycares because the owner will come and sue you. It's insane. And if you want to make a big budget major motion picture, there's only a couple of markets, or I'm sorry, a couple of sets of stories that keep getting retold and retold and retold. We keep seeing the same characters over and over again because the big companies own those, and so they keep pushing their own material, and this whole vast world that's out there of other creative folks just aren't getting access. If you happen to be the author whose book makes the break, you're going to make it huge. But the rest of us, the other 99% of quality, you know, besides those few folks out there at the top, really aren't doing very much. We really aren't selling very well. And it doesn't have to be that way. And the reason why it doesn't have to be that way is because access to the market is completely broken down. The technological innovations, the internet revolution has made access to media absolutely extraordinary. And I'll start right here with this conversation that we're having tonight. I am recording this on the software that came on a mid-market laptop. This is, I think, a $500 laptop I spent. This is the software that came on it. I haven't paid anything extra for the software, right? This is the capability that it has. I have the ability to take this over into a little editor that came built in also, and if I wanted to put a splashy little flash animation on it, I could. And then I can post it completely free of charge using public Wi-Fi. I'm in Boom Comics to YouTube, and literally the entire world. You know, there's no chance that this video will go viral and have 1 million views tonight, but it could. The potential is out there, right? And this same sort of access to market exists everywhere else, whether you're making video, whether you're trying to publish a book, whether you're trying to build a video game. You can go into Create Space and put a book on Kindle tonight. You can have that same book in print and listed on Amazon in less than a week. You can have proof copies on your desktop. They will send you PDFs how to lay out your story so that it will appear correctly. If you'd like to build your own video game, you can absolutely download Android and into the Android marketplace and a lot of other different marketing devices. You can raise funds on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or dozens and dozens of other ways to raise funds. And what this means is that all of us have the potential to be in the market. We can all be in the market tomorrow. What happens, though, is that no one will notice. Okay, if you put a book out there on Amazon tonight, there are 12 million books on Amazon right now. 12 million. And so the success or failure of your book is largely based on whether or not you can get other people to notice it, whether or not you can get it reviewed, whether or not you can draw attention to it, right? And that actually leads us into the idea of Creative Commons, because I don't really have much reach into the market. I have a day job, I have bills to pay, I have a kid. I've got a lot of things to do. I'm not going to build giant glossy posters or have a blimp with my name on the side of it. It's just not realistic, right? But I have a little bit of reach. Okay, I've got YouTube, I've got a Facebook fan page, I've got a Twitter feed, I've got a little reach, I've got a couple reviewers who will review things that I write because they know me and they like to work with me, and so do you. You know, you've got friends, you've got buddies, you've got all of the same abilities to establish a a LinkedIn account or a Twitter or any of the other Snapchat, Snapchat's not a good example, but any of the other media venues that are out there, you go out there on DeviantArt tonight and set up an account and put all of your artwork out there, right? So you don't have enough, and I don't have enough, and nobody quite has enough to be successful on their own, but we all have the ability to create the media. Well, there's a way that you and I can work together rather than against each other, and it's Creative Commons, which is a licensing mechanism that was designed to handle the fact that software is sort of infinitely reusable. Okay, and what Creative Commons says, there's several different versions of Creative Commons, but the version that I have says that anything that I create, I own. That's just natural law of the Congress, law of anybody. I wrote it, I own it. But as long as you will give me credit for the fact that I wrote it and I own my piece, you can use my characters, my elements, my features in anything that you design, and all you have to do is credit me. All you have to do is acknowledge me. Okay? So this is what I do, and even if you're not interested in what I do, and even if you don't want to participate, I want to encourage you to explore Creative Commons and learn how to do this for yourself, because it's very, very important. It's going to revolutionize eventually the way that media is created and brought to folks. Okay, so what I do is I started a science fiction universe. I wrote history for it. I wrote faster than light travel rules for it. I wrote communication for it. I wrote governments for it. I wrote corporations for it. I wrote alien species for it. I wrote all this stuff for it, and I put it all on Facebook. And on YouTube. I've been recording a series of videos on it. I wrote a lot of stories in it. I've written 4 short stories, and I'm just about to release a novel in it. And in the course of that, I made it available on DeviantArt, and I got some other artists to draw things that were created in my universe and shared under Creative Commons. I got some other authors in it. Laura Conrad has written in my universe. Daniel Hunt is about to release a book in my universe. We've got a lot of other artists and authors, and all of them own what they wrote. That's absolutely cool. What they don't own is the characters and the universe and the environment. That's available to anybody free of charge. Okay? All you have to do is credit me. Owlman Comics, which owns Big Damn Sci-Fi, is releasing Big Damn Dryden. My universe is called the Dryden Experiment, and Big Damn Dryden is Owlman Comics' rule set adapted to the Dryden universe and using all of these characters that have been created by all these authors and artist types. And so our universe is growing in the way that one of the big corporate-owned universes, one of the big franchise universes would grow. I'm really, really interested in having an MMO, and I'd love for somebody to call me and talk to me about an MMO, or send me an email and talk to me about an MMO. And all of this is possible because my little bit of reach into the market and your little bit of reach into the market and that guy's little bit of reach into the market ends up being a big reach into the market. One of the things that really frustrates me is when you go to see a movie. I really love the first 3 Lord of the Rings movies, but I kept getting really frustrated. Everybody was talking about Peter Jackson's vision and how he realized this huge vision, and that's not really accurate. What happened is that Peter Jackson got the money and he paid the very best matte designers and the very best CGI guys and the very best actors in the universe, but he owns everything that they created, or Wingnut Films, or whoever in the system owns that, and that's really frustrating to me. I would rather work in a universe where the guy that built that alien owns that alien, and he can create whatever he wants. And we agree that somebody else can create something else in that too, but he still owns it, and the game designer owns the game that they built, and they're able to make their own money off of it. And I am now money-grubbing capitalist. I'm in the market to make money, and not the center, obviously. What I love is the process of creation. I'll make money. But if I agree not to try to own it all, right, I'm just going to own my story. The characters that came out of it, you own it. Hey, I made this bitchin' planet. It's got all these volcanoes on it. I think it'd look great in a role-playing game. Why don't copyright a module, and you make your money off of the role-playing module that you make. If you and I can agree to work cooperatively like that, using Creative Commons, we can have something the size of Star Wars, the size of Star Trek, the size of Lord of the Rings, that nobody can ever own. It's under Creative Commons. No corporation can ever own it. You can't be pushed off of it. If I catch somebody plagiarizing my work, I send them a thank you card. Right? It is absolutely inevitable that the ability of you and I to work cooperatively and the ability of you and I to create materials and put materials in the market that weren't available before will change the way the market works and will change access. Rather than having a few giant franchises that tell the 51% stories that end up boring the other 49% of us, we can build the stories that we want. We can have the universe that we want. We can do, everybody has their dream project that no one would ever pay them to do. And we don't ever have to wait for a corporation to call us. We don't ever have to wait for an agency to call and say, hey, we'd like to represent you. We can do it ourselves. And we can do it through Creative Commons. All right. I hope you'll join me if you'd like to look at my universe. The material on it, or my universe, it's not mine anymore. I started it. I planted a seed. If you want to look at our universe, the best place to find it is on the Dryden Author and Artist page on Facebook. Also check out the other YouTube videos. A whole lot of the history of the universe is out here on Facebook. And if you'd like to talk to me about a project that you're interested in or involving me in some way in what you're doing, the best way to get a hold of me is drydenexperiment@yahoo.com. That's DRYDENEXPERIMENT at yahoo.com. But even if you don't, look at Creative Commons. Go out there on their website and think about the potential to do it, you and I together, without somebody over us, without waiting to be discovered, because we love it. And the things that we create when we do it because we love it are going to be more awesome than anything that anybody could ever put in a shrink wrap box. All right, that's enough for now. I'm Joel. This is Boom Comics. Thanks for stopping by.
Actually, 2,000 card, 2,000